Oh God, oh God, oh God. So bad. Hey guys, this is Alachi and this is my review for Silent Night. This is not to be confused with the 2021 Silent Night, but this is the 2023 Silent Night directed by John Woo, written by Robert Archer Lynn, and starring Joel Kinnaman, where Joel Kinnaman plays Brian, whose son is fatally wounded by a stray bullet during a gang fight in California by two cars driving by and shooting guns in this reckless gangster battle. And he takes off running to avenge his child and is shot in the neck. He wakes up in the hospital and he can't speak because he's been shot in the vocal cords, and then proceeds on a year-long training session to avenge his son. And I love Joel Kinnaman. Let me just say that I love Joel Kinnaman. He is such a good actor, but my God, I don't know. Hollywood just his agent keeps trying to pitch him as a certain type of actor. You know, a Matt Damon or a Robert Pattinson type, but he's not. He's a very unique type of actor where the best part about him is his lip. He has almost a Shakespearean quality about the way he delivers lines, but more from a modern tone. And I loved him in The Killing. I absolutely loved him in The Killing, and I've watched him in pretty much everything ever since. And he's just been in terrible, terrible films. And I feel so bad because this is probably the worst film he has ever been in, because they take away his best asset, which is his line deliveries. There are 0 lines in this film. There's practically no dialogue whatsoever. And let me just say that was a bold freaking choice. The producer literally said, this is either going to be a genius movie or disaster. There is no in between. And he was absolutely correct. And unfortunately for them, this landed in the disaster pile. If you're going to do a film where there is no dialogue, there are 3 things that better be fucking on point. 1, the score. 2, the soundtrack. 3, the visuals and the action, right? None of those were there. This film is very silent. The only sound you hear are kind of echoey sounds of things happening in the background. The characters, when they're actually interacting with each other, they only emote to each other. So it's like a miming thing where they're just like, yeah, okay, yeah. And you're just like, what the fuck? I understand he was shot in the neck, so he can't speak. But just because you can't speak doesn't mean you don't also still communicate. People can still communicate without speech. And not only that, if he's not wanting to have any dialogue, other people are still having dialogue. Someone's going to still try to communicate with him with words. So I know that this was an artistic choice, but my God, this was terrible. I shit you not, this entire film plays out like a fanfic for Grand Theft Auto. And I think that's actually an insult to fanfic and GTA. Normally when there's an action movie and your protagonist isn't up to par yet to do what he needs to do or they need to do, they go through a sequence, and it's usually a montage to indicate to you this is the level that they are and this is the level that they're going to get to. This entire movie is that montage. It plays out for 11 months of him training. And the next scene is him training again. And the next scene is him training again. Oh, and now he's lifting weights. And now he's learning how to stab people on YouTube. He's literally watching a YouTube video. They're going to actually show him watching the YouTube video and practice on the dummy. And then, he's learning how to shoot a gun. And he's buying a car, his Mustang. And he's going to spend time in the parking lot learning how to do donuts. And that's the bulk of this film, is the montage. And played out in long form with no dialogue and no banging freaking soundtrack or score. It's empty. It's so empty. And then the villains are is kind of like this LA-ish, Californian gang that's full of Latinos who are tattooed up and, who have no dialogue and are just emoting, their gangster, toughness. And you're just like, what is this? 1990? This is so bad. This is so bad. And I get it. John Woo, there was a time where his style of film was the vibe. And it's just not the vibe anymore. That the whole, the air gun blowing and people's hair flowing, and then the slow-mo with the shooting, and then, someone delightfully shooting, and, and then the lights, and that's a style that was really popular in the early 90s, the slow-mo, but it's not anymore. And I just don't feel like those slow-mo shots make sense if the entire movie is just, I think, like the repertoire of all of his signature moves, where you don't really have a story. You just have all those signature moves. The tear falling, close up, the tear drop. I couldn't believe it. And then the plot was just so freaking bad. Here you have this father who is grieving for his son who was killed by a stray bullet from two rival gangs driving recklessly through the streets of California, shooting at one another. And this guy spends an entire year training to do what? To drive through the streets of California recklessly, shooting at gang members. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It does not. I hated this film so much, and I feel like John Woo is just unfortunately past his time. That doesn't mean that he's not still a legend. I just feel like the type of films that he likes to direct are just not what audiences want to see anymore. And this was an absolute waste of time, film, good actors, just no. I'm going to give Silent Night an F-. If I could give the movie a lower grade, I would have, because I found it absolute torture to sit through. Are you guys going to go see Silent Night? I don't recommend it, but if you do, let me know what you guys think, because it was very bold of them to have no dialogue. And I have read a few articles saying he pulled it off, and I'm just like, I'm not seeing that. I don't think so. Anyways, I'm curious as to what you guys think. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. And if you'd like to watch more, you can click right here or here to watch more now. Until next time.